Fighter II may not be the first PvP fighting game with special moves, projectiles, health meters, and even a female fighter, but it reinvented the genre by refining many of those features into the mechanics that we still enjoy today, setting the standard for the modern fighting game. But before Street Fighter II, there was Karate Champ. A one-player game released for the arcades in 1984 and updated later in the year as Karate Champ, player versus player, which allowed players to fight with each other. There were no buttons to press, but it had two joysticks which were used to execute moves. Health bars were non-existent and rounds ended when a single hit connected. The game had bonus stages and featured digitized voices. It was very successful and no doubt influenced Street Fighter II down to the white and red gi of its characters. But Karate Champ was still grounded on reality. While the matches did eventually occur in the streets, it still leaned more into sports rather than a true street brawl. Enter Yi-R Kung Fu, which introduced the health bar that allowed matches to last longer than the first hit. Using a joystick and two buttons for punch and kick, you controlled Oolong and had to fight through 11 fighters, including the first female character in a fighting game, Star. Unlike Karate Champ, Yi-R Kung Fu featured faster gameplay, higher jumps, projectiles, and unique characters, making it feel like a Mega Man boss fight than a martial arts game. Still, Yi-R Kung Fu pushed us further into what would be the modern fighting game, Street Fighter. Street Fighter set the stage for its sequel to totally take over the world by giving us the modern fight stick. The first version of the game had only a joystick and two pneumatic rubber pads that changed the strength of the attacks depending on how hard the pads were hit. It was not a good controller as it punished your hands while being totally inconsistent. So, Capcom changed the control scheme to the now classic design, which included a joystick and 6 buttons, 3 for punches and 3 for kicks, each corresponding to low, medium, and heavy attacks. The design and button layout is still being used to this day, most notably in high-stakes eSports events. The game introduced Ryu and the now legendary controller input quarter circle forward plus punch to throw a fireball. He was the only character you can use as you fight your way through several locations around the world. Another player can interrupt the game at any time and challenge you to a new match, with Ken as the default second player character. But Street Fighter was still far from perfect. The gameplay was still mainly jump, hit, and run with the occasional fireball. It played more like boss fights from a side-scrolling beat-em-up. All of this changed with the arrival of its legendary sequel. February 14, 1991. Street Fighter II took all the best elements from previous fighting games, throttled them up to 1,000, and completely redefined video games. We were treated to a unique cast of world warriors, each with their own fighting styles, backstories, and viable strategies. Ryu and Ken were the balanced, all-around fighters who were usually the first picks for beginners. Dalsim was the zoner who teleported around and kept you from getting close. Chun-Li and Blanca were the nimble, rush characters that wore you down with unpredictable jabs and jumps. E-Honda and Zangief were the heavy-set wrestlers who may be slow, but can end the game quickly if given an opening. And of course, who can forget Guile, who annoyingly turtled his way to victory by blocking most of the time as he charged his special moves. Eventually, the 4 bosses, Vega, Balrog, Sagat, and M. Bison, became playable characters to master. The variety of characters and playstyles infused so much depth and strategy into the gameplay that the player who took the time to learn and master its nuances can totally decimate the other player with whoever character they chose to use. But there is one mechanic that blew everything else out of the water: the combo. In an effort by the developers to improve on how special attacks are done, a happy side effect occurred. They discovered that if you do it fast enough, normal moves can be cancelled into special moves, ensuring that both hits connect while the other player is stuck in their stun animation. The game devs knew of the glitch but left it in the game for the best players to find and exploit. And so the combo was born, and it forever changed the fighting game genre as players abandoned their button-mashing ways for well-thought tactics that chipped at their opponent's defenses and provided openings for game-winning combos. Each character had their own bread-and-butter combo that players needed to master if they wanted to get far in the game. Capcom rode this mechanic to the bank, building on it with every iteration of Street Fighter II, and boy, were there a lot of them. They introduced the combo meter, super combos, flashy combo finish effects, and our personal favorite, the juggle combo. Soon, every developer was coming out with their own fighting game and combo systems. Capcom kept on refining its system, releasing Street Fighter Alpha and introducing the Chain Combo or Magic series. The Chain Combo can be considered the predecessor to the more open-ended and loose dial combo system used in the Marvel vs. series of fighting games. Before Street Fighter II, and before the term eSports was coined, video game tournaments consisted mainly of high-score or speed-run competitions, which means they were still single-player fair, with opponents never having a direct effect on how you played. That changed with Street Fighter. Now, players can really put their money, or in this case, quarters, where their mouth is. Kids saved their lunch money to unload them on Street Fighter II cabinets after school. Each arcade had a king of the hill that no player can seem to beat, but people kept on challenging. And as the players played together every day at the arcade, friendships formed, giving rise to teams, factions, and turfs. They were like neighborhood kids trying to defend their territory against the kids from the other block. Soon, Street Fighter II tournaments started sprouting everywhere, and it was no longer just a matter of prizes. It was also a matter of pride. Street Fighter II ushered in a new era for gaming by giving rise to the fighting game community, or FGC, and the hardcore competitive scene. No longer were video games just for kids. It was now a legitimate sports event held in sports arenas and attended by millions of people. The game may have reinvented the genre, changing how video games are made. But its most lasting legacy is how it reshaped the culture of video gaming forever.